call is important to us. Please hold the line.
All operators are busy at the moment. We apologize for the wait and will answer you shortly. Our operators are busy at the moment. Your call is being transferred. Thank you for calling.
That's right, baby. We're back. And boy, do we have a ton to talk about. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hotline. So much has been announced since our last stream, so we do have a ton to talk about today, but I'm so excited about pretty much everything that's been announced so far. But, of course, I cannot do it alone. So please, everyone, welcome to the stream, Nico of the Entertainment Connection and Rob of the Howling Hour. I like that.
That's very Brady Bunch.
Very Brady Bunch. That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Well, gentlemen, welcome to the show. Holy smokes. There's just so much to chat about. And I already see the chat lighting up. Thank you for everyone joining us live and also on the replay. Yeah, man, see so many familiar names and faces. We're going to talk about pretty much everything that's already mentioned here in the chat. Mary, of course, thank you for tuning all the way from Orlando. I love it. But yeah, well, I mean, let's get right to it, gentlemen. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, Six Flags broke the internet today with the announcement of Fright Fest Extreme, presented by Snickers. And we've got all the gory details. I mean, holy smokes. So I'm going to go over the details first, and then we're going to kind of break it down. So first of all, select nights from September 7th through November 3rd. This is their longest run in history. The website, the press release says that there's going to be a combined total of 20 haunted houses and scare zones. So pretty wild. Tickets for select nights are on sale right now, starting at $75. And this, for the first time ever, is also going to be a separate ticketed event. So no longer are you going to be mixed in with the crowds of the daytime. This is a separate ticket event, and we'll get into details about that in just a second. And there are a ton of IPs that just got announced for Fright Fest, pretty much all over the world, really. But specifically here for us at Six Flags Fright Fest Magic Mountain, these are the IPs that we're going to get, starting with Saw, which we got last year, The Conjuring Universe, which we saw last year, Stranger Things, what the hell, Army of the Dead, Trick or Treat, and then also other parks are going to get Texas Chainsaw Massacre at Six Flags Great Adventure and DCeased at Six Flags Mexico. Very, very interesting developments. I mean, hell, gentlemen, let's get right into it. What are your thoughts on this wave of IPs that hit us this morning?
Rob, want to start us off?
Well, why not? Why not? You know what?
Our resident Six Flags expert, Rob of the Howling Hour.
That's a little bit. You know what? Just when I saw this news and I got the information, I was just like, well, first of all, they're going super long from September. I mean, those are HHN days right there. They're stepping into HHN time slots right there. So I'm super excited for that. And just, I mean, obviously the houses on these IPs, because this is something in all the years I've gone, I've never, with the exception of last year, I've never seen them get these many IPs. So I'm excited for that. Like, it's just, and then they're not just like, oh, well, they're gonna get, this one, or it's like this is episode of Stranger Things because Six Flags is getting a Stranger Things house, so that's pretty insane right there. But just like the Conjuring, obviously we had that last year, but the Army of the Dead, I think, fits perfect for what Six Flags kind of does. I think that's gonna just fit right into one of their slots they have. But also, we've been asking for it, and now we're getting it. And so I'm gonna say right off the bat, we just need to support it. A separate ticketed event.
Yes. I have been praying for this day. I have been hoping, and we are finally here. I am so happy. Theme Park Duo, Gabe, shout out to you, friend. Less strollers, hopefully. That is definitely my hope, man. Get them kids out of here. Sorry, Fright Fest daycare is closed. Goodbye. Larissa says, finally, Fright Fest joined the modern era with hard tickets. It has been a long time coming. I mean, Rob, what are your thoughts, dude? All these years we've been mixed in with everybody, and finally, no more.
You know what? It's for me, it's kind of like one of those, like, the good and bad things. Like,
Sure.
I want to see what they can do with this separate ticketed event, because we've been asking for it. We want to see, like, what they can do when it's like not as crowded, and you get just a different vibe. It's not the day crowd mixed in with the people who are there for Fright Fest. It's going to be a Fright Fest crowd. But with saying that, those kids, man, like, the characters would just torment them. And I know they loved it, but for me, it was just like, the kids are kind of in my way. And yes, the stroller, have to veer around a stroller to get to the next haunted house. So, it's good and bad, but not so much. I'm not gonna say bad. It's gonna be different, but I like different, and I like the separate ticketed event. I just think it's. Let's see what you guys can do, and we got to support them. We got to go. We got to support them.
Yeah, for sure. Nico, thoughts, friend, on the separate ticket event finally?
So I think last year, like, I was thinking, I'm like, why didn't they go through with all of these IPs, Six Flags Extreme, like Mr. Six getting hit by a bus? Why didn't they go through with that with last year's 30th anniversary? But then I was like, okay, last year, for the 30th anniversary, that was the end of an era. This is a brand new start for Six Flags Fright Fest, especially being under the Cedar Fair name now.
Yes.
So having it be a separate ticketed event, of course, a huge win. Like you guys said, kids will be very minimal. It's just a super exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And first of all, the IP lineup is wild. Absolutely wild. I saw a comment. Hold on. Let me search for this comment real quick. First of all, Halloween 365. Always a pleasure to have you here. The Walker Chronicles Netflix switched to Six Flags. What the hell? Army of, or what is it? Army of the Dead. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. But for them to nab Stranger Things, holy crap, man. How shocked were you guys by this announcement?
I was shocked. Like, we've seen Universal do Saw before, so I think I was more shocked last year when Saw was announced than I was this year or
with
today
Stranger Things?
Stranger Things. Yeah.
Really?
I think so. Because besides Hellfest, I don't think Six Flags has really done an IP.
Yeah, Rob, correct us if we're wrong. I mean, they've kind of dabbled in them, right?
Yeah. I think that was probably the only one they've done, at least in my memory. I'm old, you guys, so just forgive my mind. But yeah, the Hellfest was the last one, and it wasn't like its own. Yeah. It was like the overlay kind of thing from Vault 666.
Yeah, definitely. And Theme Park Duo, a very interesting point here. Now I want to know how long that contract is for, because are we going to get HHN Stranger Things 4 or I guess Stranger Things 5, right? Because we
did 4 last year.
Right. So that will be very interesting to see, because that was kind of a huge draw for HHN. So if Six Flags gets Stranger Things this year. Next year is when, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe next year is when we're going to get the next season of Stranger Things, allegedly. So, yeah, what's going to happen there? Super strange, honestly. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like I wonder if everything is a year-by-year basis with IPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, hey, you have Stranger Things for this year. Here you go. Better knock it out. But then next year it's free game because, gosh, what year was it? 2012. Not Scary Farm did Evil Dead for their log ride.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next year, Horror Nights did a full walkthrough house that was in the mummy queue for Evil Dead.
Right.
So I wonder if it's just a year-by-year basis thing.
Right. And Monica has a great point here. They did not announce what season they're going to have for Stranger Things. It's very true. They were pretty vague about what exactly we're going to see. So is it going to be the latest season, or is it going to be a combination of all 4 seasons? I mean, I know that Horror Nights kind of missed a couple of things last year in terms of Stranger Things 4. We didn't see a couple of things. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Are we going to get a compilation house?
Man, that's tough. I feel like I would say yeah, just because I mean they know Horror Nights did was it season 4? Was it last year?
Season 4.
Or was it last year or the year before?
Last year.
Last year, right.
The year before that, we didn't have Stranger
Right.
Things. The year before that, we didn't have them either. It was 2018, 2019.
You're right,
2018 season 1, 2019 season 2 and 3, and then nothing until last year.
Okay, so they know we got last year. So I don't think they're gonna want to just focus on one season,
Sure.
because then we're definitely gonna be like, oh well, they did this better, well they didn't do this better. I think they're gonna want to like, let's take the best moments from all the seasons and make the best house we can make. And one thing too, I am hoping is that Six Flags Cedar Fair throws some money into these houses because I just don't want the name. I want it to look good.
Absolutely. And there's 2 comments on that I want to highlight. To your point, Rob, HHN365, always great to have you all here with us. Great comment here. I really hope they're going to be willing to back this up financially, and not just be happy to have the IPs. We know what happened last year with only 2. Yeah, they don't have the best track record when it comes to IPs. Things opening late, things not exactly being finished 100%. But, Nico, I know you, I think on Twitter, mentioned Saw during Scream Break and the vast improvements that they had for that. And then, Theme Park Duo kind of has the same thought. Got to be honest, I think this year will be a major test run, and next year will be a make or break for a separate ticket event because they'll make all the money this year to spend next year. And it is interesting to know or to kind of speculate on how much money they're going to sink into this year, period, especially considering that it is a separate ticketed event. Rob, I mean, Nico, both of you guys, what are your thoughts on hopefully the quality that we see? Because I think there's potential there. There's definitely potential.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit with Stranger Things. This is Six Flags' time to give us a good Stranger Things 2 and 3 highlight house, because Horror Nights blew it in 2019 with Stranger Things 2.
Yeah.
And then just threw in that little Stranger Things season 3 ending. So this is Six Flags time to really blow us away.
Yeah.
But quality-wise, like I said on Twitter, Scream Break Saw was a vast improvement from Fright Fest.
100%.
Because I remember no audio, like very, very little audio being in Saw.
Yeah.
To the point where I went home and I added the soundtrack myself just to see what it was like.
Just to feel something.
Yeah, just feel that little. But yeah, I hope the quality is there. I hope Six Flags is starting now to build their houses or something, so we don't reach that point.
I hope they started a while ago.
Yeah. Like I'm really I'm
Don't let
rooting
me
for you,
down, guys.
Six
Don't let
Flags.
me down.
I am 100% rooting for you because this was a huge day for you guys.
Yeah.
100%.
Um,
100%.
I mean, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Is we want the Eddie on top of the was it trailer the house, yeah. The RV, yeah, we want that.
Come
We
on.
want that. That's what we want. We'll forgive a lot of things if we get that. So again, you know, I think they gotta throw some money into it.
Sure.
That's pretty much it. And obviously financially invest into it and know that. And I think with the test run, and I'm gonna call it a test run, Scream Break, I feel like had to do pretty good because that was a separate ticketed event. And if it wasn't a success, I don't think this would happen, because then they'd be like, oh, well, we offered them something separate and no one just showed up, or the financial gain wasn't worth it. So I think Scream Break kind of helped us get a separate ticketed Fright Fest. So again, like same with Nico, I'm rooting so much for Six Flags because I want the more successful haunts we have to go to come haunt time, like that's benefit for all of us.
Yeah. 100%.
Amen, brother. And I'm going to bring up a comment that was earlier from Sarah, not really digging the separate ticketed event. So she, to their point, it's not going to make a difference with people, strollers, or crowds. Now, Rob, you just mentioned the lighter crowds during Scream Break.
Right.
I know that, Nico, when you and I were there, the crowds were also pretty damn light. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the time of year has something to do with that, right? Because, like, you know, we're freaks. We want to have Halloween all year long. Not everybody feels the same way. But I feel like it's got to affect the crowd levels in some way. It's got to ease the crowds a little bit, at least in terms of like the midways and in terms of the houses as well. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think for this year we might see a decrease in the crowd, unless it's amazing word of mouth and they're like, you got to get out to Six Flags, which again, I want them to succeed. So I want that to happen. Yes. But I think for this first year, you might see, because there are those people who are like, well, I've gone for the past 20 years and just bought a regular ticket for the day and just stood. So you have those people who are like, this is how I've done it for X amount of years, and I don't like change, and that's fine. I understand that, but I'm okay with this change, and I'm okay with them trying something new, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, that's very true. Nico, what are your thoughts, man?
Yes. I kind of forgot what the question was, but that's all right.
Will the separate ticket ease the crowds, do you think? How do you think?
It will definitely ease the crowds. Last year, for the 30th, when they had Saw and The Conjuring, those lines were horrid because it was a mix-in. Well, not a mix-in. It was just standard ticket, and you could go into these mazes.
Yeah.
And the lines were 3 to 4 hour long.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. So having it be a separate ticketed event will definitely ease up the crowds. Like Rob said, it has to be word of mouth so that this event, like, people go. You guys go. Like, the monsters are incredible in the scare zones and the mazes. The mazes are just fun. Like, even if you don't get scared, they're just fun, good, classic mazes. And it's just a great event all around. Like, I didn't think my first time going I was going to like it that much because I'm spoiled by Knott's. I'm spoiled by Six Flags. But when I went, I had the time of my life. So if you guys have never been to Six Flags Fright Fest, if there was a year to go, this is it.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably a great year for a first visit to Fright Fest. Now, I will say this much to a lot of people's points about The Conjuring and about Saw. I do. First of all, we went on media night, so a lot of people were getting priority access to these houses. So I know that definitely slows down the lines for sure. But even when we went during Scream Break, they were pulsing people pretty aggressively in Saw, which is great, which is dope for the experience, but also it does create a little bit of a wait. And I kind of noticed that they were doing that also with The Conjuring last year when we went during Fright Fest. So I definitely hope that operations-wise, they perhaps don't pulse people that much, just because, I mean, you're going to create a wait. You're going to create a wait that way. And it's a double-edged sword, because if you want people to not wait a long time, well, then there might be a conga line in the maze, and that brings down the quality. But also, if you've got lines that are like 2 hours, 3 hours, well, that also brings the quality down as well. It's hard, man. It's really hard.
I'll say this with in regards to just like Saw and The Conjuring. For the most part, again, for the I feel like a lot of people who go to Fright Fest are regulars,
right?
So they weren't looking for Willoughby's or Vault 666 or
right.
They were
there for years.
Yeah,
they were going. Years.
Those people were going to, especially Saw, because I think Saw they had just announced like, oh, we're opening up like tonight or something like that. So everyone was there for Saw and everyone was there for Conjuring, because those other houses had been there for, like you said, 4 or 5 years. So, so I think that also played into it too. So, but I think with this stacked lineup, I mean, there could be a 3-4 hour wait, but I feel like it's going to be not there's 2 focused mazes. It's going to be like, okay, all the mazes are focused. So there's going to be people everywhere.
Yeah, that's a great point. And by the way, we got a Bart Simpson in the chat. Hugh, I see what you're doing here, but thank you for the super chat, Hugh. Little tricky punk. No ordinary Gigi. Is this only in Cali? So this is kind of confusing. And gentlemen, I'd love your input if you kind of have a better grip on it. So I know that for sure at Six Flags Magic Mountain, we're getting Saw, Conjuring, Stranger Things, Army of the Dead, Trick or Treat. I know that they also mentioned that they're going to be kind of sprinkled. Those IPs are going to be sprinkled at other Six Flags parks, but they have not really announced the entire lineup for all of the Six Flags parks just yet. But right now, here specifically, we are talking about Six Flags Magic Mountain here in California. But I do know that, like, for instance, DCeased is coming to Six Flags Mexico. Gabe, I saw your comment about us not getting it. I'm right there with you. I'm right there. That would be so cool. See, Gabe, I'm bitter about it too, bro. I'm bitter about it too, for
that
sure.
That would have been a cool one.
I want a zombie Batman.
So I would say for the most part, check your website for your local Six Flags and see what's going on there, because more information will be released as the days go on. Now, here's my question for you, gentlemen, especially for you, Rob, our resident Six Flags expert. We mentioned Hellfest earlier on in the chat or in the stream. So we mentioned Hellfest and its overlay of Vault 666.
Okay.
Six Flags Magic Mountain has very limited space. They're doing what they can with what they have. Do we think that we're going to see the end of some classic Fright Fest mazes, some, that have had a long run? Are we going to see the end of them in the form of an overlay like Hellfest? The first thing that comes to my mind, and somebody said it in the chat too, was Army of the Dead, perhaps going where Aftermath is, right?
Yeah.
The Willoughby's facade already kind of looks like Vecna's house.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was thinking that also.
When we were at Scream Break, in fact, Vault 666 had no sign on its facade at all. It looked vacant. It looked empty. So, what do you guys think? Are we going to get some overlays, or are we starting from scratch here?
I mean, like you said, Six Flags really doesn't have a lot of extra space unless they're going to put us in some kind of staff area and build, a tent or something, but they really don't have a lot of space to put extra mazes. So I think we are definitely going to get overlay. And I just, I thought obviously I think, we could kind of agree here that where Aftermath was that's kind of perfect for the Was it
Dead.
Army of the Dead? Yeah,
The,
I mean,
the
you could just,
description is already basically
yeah,
Aftermath.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like, but you know what? You changed my mind. I was thinking like Trick or Treat would go where Willoughby's is, but now that you say like Vecna's house for Stranger Things, I was like, that's actually perfect. So now I got to find a place to put Trick or Treat. Who knows, man? But oh, go ahead, Nico.
No, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
I was just that was pretty much it. I definitely think we're gonna lose some of those classic houses that have been with us for 10 years. But you know what? It's good to move on, and we're getting something new, and it goes back to what Nico said earlier. I think that this is like a turning of the page for Six Flags, and we're on a new road, and we're gonna losing some of those old houses, but we're getting some new IPs in their places.
Yeah, like for me, Trick or Treat doesn't really need to be a long maze.
Okay.
So I don't think Condemned is going anywhere because it's super popular for Screen Break, and it's just a fun maze to begin with. So I don't think that's going anywhere, but I do think it would be a good location for Trick or Treat.
Okay.
Because when you go on the outside or when you exit the warehouse, I think that would be a good place for the school bus.
Sure. Ariana thinks the same thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
That would be great. Yeah.
So, just that maze. It doesn't really need like big sets or anything for their stories. So that would be my thought on Condemned and Trick or Treat. But I do think it's probably going into Vault 666.
Sure.
But yeah, like the first thought that came into my head for Army of the Dead was Aftermath. Like, no question, just the whole city destroyed. Like, that maze was
stick a Las Vegas sign in there, and
right when you walk in, just put it like a casino or something, and
right
there you go.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what survives from the legacy lineup that we've had at Fright Fest for years now, and what will get kind of an overlay treatment, and also what we're going to get from scratch. I'm very excited about the thought of that because I also thought about Truth or Dare and how, like, the first year was kind of a dud. Then the second year got better. But now I'm like, you know what? That's an awfully nice warehouse you got there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind to see something start from scratch in there because there's a lot of space in there.
Do you think Saw is going to stay in the same spot, or will they move it? You think it's going to stay there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you guys, but
okay.
Right.
I think that, I mean, obviously this is just me, but I think not Trick or Treat, Truth or Dare, just because the warehouse like vibe of it, I think Saw would be perfect in there. And it would change the layout that we're not getting the same Saw
right
from before. We're getting a different kind of layout Saw. So I don't know. Just listen, Six Flags. Just listen.
we got you, Six Flags.
We got you.
I'm also curious what they're going to be doing with The Conjuring, because they said they're going to be adding Annabelle and the Nun. So I'm excited to see what changes that maze is going to be getting for this
technically,
year.
they were kind of already there. Like we had Annabelle at the start, right? And then, God, it's all a blur now. But I do think we had like a Nun moment in there. Maybe we didn't, but I can see them sticking it in there somewhere for sure.
I feel like we did, didn't we? When we walked down the hallway, wasn't there like a nun at the end with the?
Maybe it wasn't the nun. Maybe it was.
No, I think it was the clapping.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It was the clapping. Dang, that clapping got me.
Yeah. Now, to respond to this comment here, Halloween 365 days. Are we really losing the older mazes though? Because the press release said 20 haunted houses total. It said 20 haunted houses and scare zones.
That tricked me too.
Yeah, so it's like a combination. 20 total haunted houses and scare zones. Now, I don't think that means 20 each unless they somehow struck the lottery and got an influx of cash. I think it just means 20 offerings total, a mix of haunted houses and mazes. But again, this is all speculation at this point, and the website doesn't really say it. You know what I mean?
I'm counting because I know for sure I could think off the top of my head 5 scare zones. So that I mean, so maybe 6 scare zones.
Oh, I got another
one. You have 8 scare zones? Oh man,
Yeah, or 9.
9 scare zones?
So
Really?
you have the entrance scare zone.
Devil's Triangle.
Yeah. Then you had the scare zone where the
Oh,
poor
the Carniv Hell one. The
Yeah.
Carniv
Yeah.
Hell one.
Carniv
yeah.
Hell.
Yeah, there you go. Carniv Hell, and then you got DC, the City Under Siege.
Yeah,
Then you
this-
have Underground, and then you have dang it, with the one over by
The Witches.
there you go. Yeah, it's like the witches area, right? That's 5, and then the one over by
The
where,
neon one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
By
Yeah.
Aftermath, on the way to Aftermath. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know where I got 9, but
Okay,
it happened.
Numbers are hard, folks.
He's just-
Numbers are.
counting. Okay,
But yeah,
we'll split the difference and say 6 scare zones. So that leaves what, like 14 houses?
14 houses. Yeah, baby.
Way to
We'll
go,
see.
Six Flags.
I
Way
mean,
to
we'll
go.
see. We'll see what happens, right? I'm gonna be very curious to see exactly what becomes a house and what doesn't. In fact, the press release kind of said that Trick or Treat was going to be a candy trail nightmare. But the website kind of poses it as a house. So I don't know. The details are a little fuzzy here, folks. All we know is that we got some IPs. It's presented by Snickers.
Yeah.
And it's a separate ticketed event. And I'm very excited for all of those, honestly. And now I want to talk about the legend returning. I want to talk about Mr. Six and the
Wow.
grand reveal, the grand return. I know I saw some comments earlier. I'm going to try to dig them up right now. But yeah, Marco said, I wonder if Mr. Six will be walking around as a zombie. Larissa says, I love that they used Mr. Six. That was a classic. I mean, honestly, if they don't have like some sort of undead Mr. Six photo op, what a missed opportunity. Like, come on.
666, baby.
Oh, snap. Mr. 666. Nico, you
Trademark
better
that.
trademark
Trademark
that.
that,
Yeah,
Nico.
buy the website IP domain right now.
Go.
Oh, man. Well, before we move on to Hollywood, or Horror Nights Hollywood, I should say, any final thoughts on Six Flags this year and what could potentially be heading our way?
Just super excited for Six Flags and the IPs that they're getting. This is going to be an incredible year. Gabe has been asking if this was, or last year was year 30 or year 31, and I'm pretty sure it was 30.
30.
Last year was 30.
So we're on year 31 now.
So turning of the page. This is a new era for Fright Fest and Cedar Fair to really make their mark in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
And to fight against Universal and to give us some good Halloween events. So I'm
The
super
potential
stoked
is
for
there.
this.
The potential is there. Saw was phenomenal.
Yes.
And yeah, if they keep that energy up, good things are coming. Rob, any final thoughts, friend?
I'm excited. I mean, I've been like you guys know, I've been going to Six Flags for years now, and this is the most excited I've been for an upcoming season. I'm excited for all the things that we just talked about, the separate ticket, all these IPs, and I just foresee this being a even more fun event.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Very exciting stuff. We will keep you guys posted with all of the Six Flags news for sure. Be sure and follow us. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure and subscribe on our YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and on Twitter. Also, Entertainment Connection. Also, Horror Connection. Also, the Howling Hour. We all talk haunts. This is literally talking haunts is all we do on this channel.
Yep.
So be sure and follow us if you haven't already. And now, gentlemen, let's move on to talk Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood. They have been giving us a ton of announcements lately, too, starting with today's announcement of Monstruos 2, The Nightmares of Latin America. So this house will be in the Parisian courtyard for sure. It is, canon-wise, the same graveyard as last year, but it's a different section of it. And La Muerte will still be our host. And in this house specifically, we're going to get El Charro Negro, El Cadejo, El Cucuy as our icons. And then there's also probably going to be a little throwbacks, a little callback to the El Cucuy maze that we got years ago that was narrated by Danny Trejo. And it is kind of unconfirmed right now, but like a soft confirmation that some props and figures from the maze last year got shipped over to Orlando, which is very, very interesting. So we'll see what happens there. Murdy's official response was, I'm going to let them talk about that. So that's not a no. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Our little birdies.
Yeah, man. Yes, you're right. Why does El Chano Negro look so out of place? Mary nailed it. Yeah, he's like oddly 3D, and the rest are like hand drawn. It's very interesting. But either way, gentlemen, your thoughts on Monstruos 2?
So I'm super excited for Monstruos. Fantastic maze last year.
Yeah.
I just don't see the reason for the 2 in the title. If it was just Monstruos, the Nightmares of Latin America, that would have been perfect for me. I hope for this maze we're not walking through the end of a big bag or walking through a big bag in the end.
I hope I don't get hit with really hard swinging things.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
So many organs.
Those guts were so
they hurt.
They were not
And
it, man.
If El Cadejo is not a female, this is an all-male cast for Monstruos 2.
Entry 2.
2.
I
Electric Boogaloo.
think we should call it Monstruos 2.
Yeah, dos.
Oh, there you go.
Dos.
Or Z. It kind
Monstruos
of looks like a
dos.
Z. Monstruos.
Monstruos 2.
But yeah, like I'm super excited for this. El Charo Negro is like was one of my favorite characters on the streets 2 years ago. So I'm excited to see him. El Kukui, that was my first year going to Horror Nights. So going through his maze was terrifying. El Cadejo, I don't know much about the Devil Dog, but looks terrifying. If it's like American Werewolf in London, it will screw me up.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some big puppet work in this too. Murdy kind of teased a little bit that we may see some more really cool big set pieces, animatronics, perhaps. Yeah, very interesting. Rob, what are your thoughts, friend?
You know, I will say when just because you mentioned American Werewolf, those werewolves were like to this day, I still think some of the best werewolves as far as like, you know, puppets and stuff like that I've seen. So if they bring something like that, sign me up. But and I gotta mention El Kukui. That was 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was off the top of my head. Yeah,
one of the best experiences I ever had going through that maze because I got to go through. Actually, Danny Trejo got me to the front of the line because Yes.
Wow.
He was going to the maze because he did the voice. He was going to the maze and I took a picture of him and he just like, I guess my flash caught his eye and he was just like, hey, like come here. And I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Like
I'd be so terrified, bro.
Yeah,
I'd be like, this is it. I'm dying at Horror Nights right now.
I was just like, oh man, I'm in, like he's mad at me. So he calls me over. He puts his arm around me and like tells everyone, he's like, someone take a picture of us. I was just like,
what?
Yeah. And
That's
it's
so cool.
So it was me and my cousin and his girlfriend, and he calls me, he puts his arm around me. He's like, hey, someone take a picture of us. He's like, how you doing, man? We had like a little 30-second conversation, and super cool dude. And he's like, come with me. Like I didn't get to go through with him, but he brought us to the front. So we went right after. Actually, no. He let us go before him. So we went right before him, and then the camera crew was recording him as he went through, but was like right behind us. So
Dude.
Yeah, that was one of the best experiences I ever had going to Horror Nights. But anyways, off topic. I'm super excited. I was hoping we are gonna get some kind of like Aztec ruin. I told you guys for months, like I wanted some kind of Aztec ruins and
Sure.
and all that. But I'm super excited with this. The lore, the El Cucuy, and I can't pronounce the rest of them because I'm horrible with Spanish. I could say dos taquitos, and that's the extent of my Espanol.
That's great. That'll get you very far.
Exactly. But just with the previous year, just the lore that Murdy pulls from to create these houses, especially these folklore kind of houses. It's just like ridiculously amazing. And I look forward to this house because last year, the Monstruos was my favorite house of last year. So I'm just like, give me more. I love the lore. I love all this, the urban legends and all that stuff. Diego
Alba says, Rob, you lucky bastard.
There's a picture from obviously in 2014, but there's a picture of me and him right at where the entrance is for El Cucuy with him just holding, I posted on my Instagram, obviously, more recently, in the past couple of years I posted it, but yeah, so there's evidence of it. It's just it was such a whoosh, and it's super cool, dude. For him to do that was amazing.
What a core memory, my friend.
Yeah,
what a core HHN memory for sure.
That has its own island right there. That's its own island.
Gonna go to a few more of the comments here. Nico G Vlogs. John Murdy really wanted us to know this wasn't a repeat. That's why he put the 2. 365 says, "Don't you dare slander Silvon's large sack."
Oh, I will. I always will. Forever and always.
Oh, I know Duff was real happy digging through that sack, man. Sitting in the sack. So happy for the sack. Mac Cheese says, Monstruos was my favorite house. It had some really good things about it for sure.
Yeah.
Larissa, I'm so not impressed. Now, listen, to Larissa's point, these are legends, monsters that we've seen already in a scare zone.
Right.
So, Rob, to your point, I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Would have been great. I've also said it before, and I'll say it again. Let's have somebody from this culture write, the house treatment for it. I think that would be great. A little representation in the haunt community would be awesome.
Yeah.
But we'll get there eventually one day for sure. Monica is very excited for HHN. It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a very interesting year for sure. Let's see what else. Albert says, as long as the existing scare zone doesn't have the La Llorona music again. Yeah, that was a little bit of a shock last year for sure. I guess the only excuse would be if they actually have La Llorona walking around the zone. Because last year, at least a couple of times that I went, she kind of tiptoed into the zone and then was like, nah. And then she'd leave. But you'd still hear it in the whatchamacallit. HHN365 says, I actually like the monsters this year compared to last year. Now, to your point, I do hope that we get to see them kind of equally represented in the house.
Yes.
Okay.
I do feel like one of the major drawbacks or one of the major weaknesses in my eyes of last year's Monstruos was that we got a lot of El Silbón and not a ton of the other monsters at all.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's a better balance there for sure. Vanessa Ann says, I'm not excited for 2.0, only if they have more animatronics. Listen, the animatronics last year, definitely so good. So good. So I'm hoping to see that for sure. And Vanessa says, Rob, nice to see you on the live. We love having Rob here.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to be seen. I love coming on here with you guys. It's always fun.
Mary says, I wonder if Cadejo will be like the Chupacabra puppets / animatronics in Orlando. I think so. By the way, Chupacabra in Orlando, severely underrated house. Truly a visual spectacle. I mean, beautiful. If y'all can find a good walkthrough of it, check it out because good Lord, talk about transporting you somewhere else. Really, really good. And so that's everything I have highlighted here.
I mean, not to go off topic, but I do know for a fact that Six Flags did a Chupacabra maze way back.
Did they really?
They did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's cool.
Walker Chronicles. Love learning about other cultures. Folklore. HHN needs to do more of this. I'm sure every culture has cool stories. They definitely do. Do. So it would be cool to see them for sure kind of dig into that a little bit more. But again, more representation would be awesome. A lot more representation would be awesome.
Like maybe some kind of Mayan, Aztec kind of folklore would be awesome.
That would be dope, man. That would be dope. For sure, man. But cool, man. Well, let's move on to the next announcement. I guess it's the previous announcement to this one, but we haven't been able to talk about it on the live stream just yet, and I haven't really been able to hear your guys' thoughts. So up next on our list here is Dead Exposure, Death Valley.
Yeah.
Now, this is confirmed to be going in the Mummy queue. It is tapping into existential fears and secret military base theories. We see that something has crashed through the facade, the entrance of this building, and we're going to learn more about that as the weeks go by. It's going to be intense and scary, so not comedic in tone at all. No dubstep in this one, and no, it is not Toxic Tunnel. So we didn't get Toxic Tunnel after all, and it's not really connected to the Orlando houses. It's a very loose retelling, not even a retelling. It's using the title. I could honestly and with a ton of confidence say that is pretty much the only connection to its Orlando predecessors is the title. But gentlemen, what are your thoughts on Dead Exposure, Death Valley? Oh, okay. Tell me more.
I'm really excited for Dead Exposure, but I'll only be excited if they take the same effect concept as Orlando's, where it's super dark inside and there's flashes.
Right.
If it's anything outside of that, I think I'll be disappointed, unfortunately.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about, because besides this key art, we've seen nothing else about this maze. There's nothing on the website. I can't find anything.
Sure.
So I don't know. I kind of makes me worried because I feel like Universal is still skeptical about this maze. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I don't know.
I think what you need to do, Nico, is what I've done, and I've made up a whole scenario inside my head of how this house is going to be, and I'm pretty excited for it. So
nice.
That's all I have to say.
Cool.
That's all I have to say about that.
Let's hear the scenario, Rob. I want to hear the scenario.
Got it. I'm stoked now.
It's a surprise. I don't want to ruin anything. No, you know what? When they announced this, and obviously, I know that I've never been to Orlando, but I know they had it over there, and I've seen some footage of it. So, I'm not but obviously Murdy said it pretty much we're taking the name, and that's kind of like where it stops, and then the rest is going to be kind of like original. But the only thing I can think of is, and I'll play out the scenario the way I did for myself, in my head, wait for myself. I said that, okay, this is what's going on, is that they're doing this secret testing on people, and Murdy brought up the whole something's crashed through. We crashed through it. We're driving one of those armored trucks. We're gonna go save the people that are testing on, and we're crashing through because and I'm not saying this is what they're gonna do, but we've seen them move with The Last of Us, that moving armored vehicle. We've seen them move vehicles, so the vehicle's going to move through there, kind of crash into it, but it's going to be us. We got to go in there. We got to save the test people that they're testing on, the super soldier serum, whatever it is, the Captain America stuff, and we're going to save them. But unfortunately, we get there too late, and they're all zombies, and they're going to eat us. And then the scenario turns into 28 days later where they're testing on the monkeys or the chimps, sure. and they're all caged up. So all these, and then we got to walk through the facility and the factory, and there's no flashing lights, Nico. There's none of that stuff. we're walking through, and it's just intense. It's going to be very intense. We're going to go through cages, and who knows if you're going to really make it out. We might not make it out because.
And is this where it connects to Caesar from Planet of the Apes?
Yes,
and,
this is actually
this
it
branches off.
Way to ruin it, John. Way to ruin it. Spoiler. This is actually a Planet of the Apes house, and way to go, John. Way to go.
Sorry, spoiler alert. Too late.
I'm
My
done.
bad.
I'm
I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, I mean, essentially, I do think like we're gonna be saving the people, and it's like we're
I like
driving
it.
through there, and
I like it.
you just go to all awry.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, man.
Just the super soldier part of it just seems too silly and goofy for me to take
Okay.
it seriously.
Sure. Yeah.
I get
So,
that. I get
that-
that.
That's where my worry comes from.
If they wouldn't have said super soldier, like, oh, their secret lab testing people, no super soldier, would you not be as skeptical?
I would have shat my pants right then and there.
There you go. There you go. So pretend you didn't read that. Just pretend no super soldier. They're testing on people. We got to save them. And then it's a surprise.
That's Rob's strategy, is the head
All right.
cannon. You just got to get on the head cannon, Nico. That's what you
Need
got
to
to
get
do.
my Rambo bandana and marked right in there.
Hellhound Haunt says, really looking forward to this house, hoping it matches Scarecrow's energy from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
For sure. Scarecrow was honestly such a solid Hollywood house.
Yeah.
For sure. Intense scares, great scenic, and truly, if they bring that energy to this, at least, I think it'll be a good time, for sure. HHN365 says, I'm really excited for this one, but why even use the Dead Exposure name? I'm curious about that too, my friend. This is the second time now that we've gotten kind of some Orlando Hollywood synergy. I'm wondering who's making that call and why it became Dead Exposure in the first place. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, the only really thing I could think of is just the interest in Dead Exposure. I mean, I don't know how popular the name was over in Orlando, but it had to be, exactly. So if it's that popular and they're going to bring it here, that's going to get people like myself who aren't familiar with Orlando, but Scarecrow came from Orlando and I loved it. It was probably my favorite house that year.
Sure.
So you're going to get people like me who are going to hear you guys say like, oh man, Dead Exposure over in Orlando was like, it was amazing and one of the best houses. So, we're getting that. Okay. I'm pumped for that. So the name right there, it's like anything else. It's like movies when you use the same name, even though it's something a little different, you're like, oh yeah, like I remember that. Now, the member berries, man, the member berries.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if it's going to be two types of definitions for exposure, because Florida had a camera exposure,
right,
where John Murdy is like, well, people are exposed to the radiation. Oh, it's like what the fuck do you want from me? It's dead exposure, man.
You're exposed. Congrats.
So I don't know. I'm excited for this maze, but it's probably at the bottom of my most anticipated right now.
It's only the second house announcement. It's at the bottom already.
Third, technically. Third.
Oh yeah, third. My bad. Third.
It's in the bottom of the top three.
Get it together.
This. Okay, let me tell you why they had to call it Dead Exposure because, like John just ruined, they couldn't use Planet of the Apes. So
they don't want to give away the secret.
Yeah, they won't give away a secret. So way to go, John.
We had to use Death Valley because
sorry, man.
Six Flags is using Army of the Dead, so they couldn't use Vegas. So Death Valley was the closest place to use it.
Ariana says he just wants you to think it's not related to Toxic Tunnel. That's why. That's why they use it. Yeah.
Point.
Nico G Vlog says Dead Exposure kind of giving me Call of Duty zombie vibes. Sure.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Where's the laser gun? I want the laser gun.
Yes.
Oh. Here you go, guys. Have at it.
Yeah, very interesting for sure. Now, I do want to call out one thing that's kind of a bummer.
Oh no.
It was discovered that they used AI art,
Oh
AI
yeah.
generated art for this piece. Not cool. Not cool, Universal. You can see that right here. It's from Adobe Stock, and Adobe Stock has generated it with AI. Yeah, I don't like that at all. And especially a big company like Universal Horror Nights, pay a motherfucker to do it, please. And to, get some original art going, because this is not cool. Is not cool. So I just felt the need to call that out, which is shady as fuck. But I'm going to follow that up with some pretty exciting news. So HN Nightmares dropped the latest version of their map a couple of days ago. And now we're seeing, according to them, Soundstage 12 will be used for Halloween Horror Nights for the first time ever. Now, folks, this is the largest soundstage on the back lot. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty damn sure it is literally the largest soundstage on the back lot being used. And it's had some incredible movies shot in there. Just to name a few: Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, truly big. Oh, and also a lot of like the classic Universal monster films were shot there. So tons of history there. And Nico got an excellent photo of the inside of this soundstage.
I did.
You did. This is you, man.
Way to go, Nico.
Taking a peek inside of the soundstage that was most recently used for The Voice. There's a house in there. What the hell? What is that house all about? Now, this is allegedly, The Weeknd. Something connected to The Weeknd, an exclusive IP to our coast that Orlando's not going to get. But the house has me very confused. Now, I'm sure Abel does live in a house, but I don't know how that connects.
Allegedly
Lives in a house. Yeah. So I am. Yeah, I'm really, really confused about what's going on here, gentlemen. What are your thoughts about this soundstage being used?
So the soundstage being used is awesome. Dracula being filmed in there.
Frankenstein. Yeah.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
Right.
This is like the cream of the crop, like soundstage to use, because look, I don't know, just being able to look at it is an honor.
Yeah.
So being able to go in there for a Halloween Horror Nights house, oh, I'm so stoked. I could just sit right there on the floor and be happy.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna take some dirt from the ground.
Just rub your hand on it, get gravel.
Just like lay down on the ground. Back to the Future was shot here. Oh,
have Ariana drag you while you're licking the floor. But yeah, with the facade inside of it, if it is The Weeknd, it kind of, I have two thoughts. Because Dawn FM, if it is based off that album, Abel is an old man. So is it like his, like, what is it, solidarity? Or like his,
like a,
I was like going to say convalescent home.
Sure, yeah. Or
yeah,
like a retreat, you mean?
From everyone.
Sure.
Okay.
Or is it a radio station where they're playing Dawn FM? We don't know, but those are my two thoughts for right now.
I mean, Nico I'm sure Nico's fronting right now. Nico has been inside the soundstage. We've already seen pictures of him just all over the place in this park. So he knows what it is and he can't say.
I did. We took a studio tour through it.
Yeah.
Drove right through it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I'm just thinking about it. If it's, if it's based off was it Dawn FM? Mm-hmm. What if, and I think you already said it, but what if it is like an actual radio station?
Sure.
like a radio studio
Where it's
So,
broadcasting from.
yeah. So that, I mean, it's cool. I mean, being in there, very cool. I'm definitely gonna do one of those things where I'm just like, oh, I walked where Michael J. Fox walked. So that's definitely gonna happen. But I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we're using it. It looks obviously like a house. I'm excited. We're gonna go through another house. It's just I don't know, Nico. I need you to get closer, man. Go back and get closer.
All right.
All right.
That's all I got.
Well said.
I want Nico in the picture next time, like just standing like in the doorway, just kind of like yeah.
Oh man. Oh, this is interesting here, folks. Breaking news from Andy Garcia. It might be his childhood home because the new album coming soon is showing him as a kid. It could be his childhood home. He posted animatronics of a little miniature kid robot on his story. That's very interesting.
There you go.
Interesting.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. The Walker Chronicles from Wikipedia. The Weeknd described the album's concept as a state of purgatory, a journey towards the light at the end of a tunnel. For sure.
Okay.
Man. Ariana, great point here. I'd be down for The Weeknd if it was more like an original collaboration a la Slash in previous years. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it's like an original house with soundtrack by The Weeknd. That's kind of fun.
Cool.
Jackie, I really hope it's not The Weeknd. I'm kind of seeing that as a sentiment in the comments for sure.
Really? People don't want The Weeknd?
I guess not. Fandom's lady, don't get any ideas of selling the dirt from the soundstage online. Well, now I have to. Now, Back to the Future dirt for sale.
I have to pay for that frequent fear pass somehow.
Yeah. I'm gonna just take a chunk of the concrete. I'm gonna just chill out a little bit of the concrete.
Yeah, everybody hide your chisels.
Yeah.
KS says, not The Weeknd again. I'd rather have Elton John or something. Now, that would be kind of fun.
I mean, yeah, like Elton John's got a bunch of great songs. Sign me up for that.
Yeah,
I,
for sure.
I would say there are a lot more other bands that I would rather see than The Weeknd again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think when we got The Weeknd, it was pretty good. I think it could be left at that. As a fan, sure, I would love to see more of it, but especially considering that I think it was Japan. One of the HHNs overseas got Dawn FM as a house, which
Singapore.
I think was Singapore, yes. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, we had a good run. It was cool. Hellhound says, I didn't know that Soundstage 12 was the largest on the backlot. That honestly gets me even more excited. And to your point, sir, I'm just so curious how much of that soundstage is actually going to be house, how much of it is going to be Q. Are they going to be using a soundstage space to its full advantage, like say Orlando does? Because when Orlando builds their sets inside of the sound stages, they make them big, they make them huge, unbelievably huge at times. So it'll be interesting to see. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think they're going to be using a lot of the Jurassic World. Like, we used to have a maze in the Jurassic World queue.
Yeah.
I think that will be a majority of the queue as well.
Okay.
Well, I don't think the upstairs, because they use that as a bar now.
Oh, that's right.
Like
that's
a little
right.
club area. So, but yeah, I think the former plot for Jurassic World's maze will be the main queue for whatever house this is.
I agree. Yeah. Rob, what are your thoughts, man?
I'm with you guys. I mean, I don't think they're gonna. I mean, well, because we saw that with the first Weeknd house, that there was a good, I think there was a good chunk of the queue was in like the soundstage area. But I mean, I would prefer. I don't think we're gonna get a huge like facade or anything like that. I will hope. I wish. Fingers crossed we do. But I've kind of yet to see like is something like how Orlando does.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're gonna use the entire soundstage, why not just go to town? Or if we're gonna get like a really, really long house, that would be awesome too. So
sure.
If you're gonna use it all.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Agreed.
And well, with that, folks, we're going to wrap up our episode by talking about Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. They also announced something today, and they've been announcing things recently as well. Very exciting. We have the return of Graceful Gale as an icon, and then also they announced the return of Lullaby as basically an all-new maze for this year. Pretty exciting stuff. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this latest from Dark Harbor, who has very, very slowly been kind of sprinkling announcements?
Rob, go away. Go for it. Not go away.
Go away. Whoa, man. Hey, man. Jeez.
Go ahead. There we go.
You know what? This is what I'll say. Dark Harbor is, and I don't think it's been like quiet. It's just they've been announcing their icons or characters and the maze, kind of amongst the other heavy hitters. So I hope it doesn't get lost. At least on me, it's not getting lost. I'm really excited that we get Graceful Gale, kind of like an icon of the event, and Lullaby, I was worried, and I kind of just talking to some buddies, and I was worried that Lullaby was going to, because it said new, and I was like, well, is it new, or they're just like saying it's new? But
sure,
from what it sounds like, we're getting, it's going to be more the name, and it's going to be maybe some of the footprint, but obviously, hopefully it's on the boat. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully it's still on the boat and everything.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. I feel like Dark Harbor with their return, and just everyone, all these other haunts are kind of not elevated above them, but they're established, whereas Dark Harbor disappeared for for obvious reasons, a couple years. So they're kind of like they're taking those steps and coming back. So I'm excited to for them to make their announcements, and I'm honestly really excited to see what they're going to announce at Midsummer. So it's just keep on trucking Dark Harbor, because we're excited to see what you guys bring to this year's event.
Yeah, for sure. Nico, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, like Queen Mary Dark Harbor is one of my favorite events, so having it back first off is incredible. Lullaby, like that's one of my favorite mazes on the ship. I do hope we get to go by the pool again.
Yes.
Previous years we haven't, but there was one year where or a couple years you would walk right by the pool.
Yeah.
And it was creepy. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of fine with Graceful Gale's maze Soulmate not coming back.
Sure.
It wasn't one of my favorites, but it was very interesting, especially the finale with the giant heart, and it would feed into all of her super soldiers.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that Graceful Gale is back. I hope we get at least like one more announcement. Maybe just maybe a maze. I would be good with a maze, but I want them to save a majority of it for Midsummer Scream, because the room will go insane right when that panel even begins. So maybe one more maze, maybe one more icon. I don't know.
Sure,
I'll be happy with anything. It's Dark Harbor.
They it seems like they have been announcing something at least like almost every week. And we're just short, or I guess it's like a month and change.
About a month. Not even. It's like a month.
Okay, we're about a month away from Midsummer Scream, and so I think we'll get some pretty exciting stuff there. Also from Six Flags, because they're going to have their own panel at Midsummer Scream, so I'm sure they're going to go over a lot of the details of their IP heavy year. But yeah, I'm very excited to hear more from Dark Harbor. Personally, I hope that Lullaby gets at least a recreation of what they did of the pool scene. Not the one you're mentioning, Nico, but the one where you're in the pool looking up at the surface and there's bodies floating up there. Incredible. That was really cool. Like they really made it feel like you were, underneath, walking down to the bottom of the pool looking up. Mm-hmm. That was really cool. But to your guys' point, super excited for anything Dark Harbor. yeah, and I can't wait to be there because honestly, I'm still pretty incredulous that it's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see it, man. We'll see what's going on. But well, gentlemen, I think that's it for today. I'm sure we're gonna be back very soon here because the announcements just keep coming. But before we wrap up, Nico, where can everyone find you, sir?
You could find me mostly with the same name, Entertainment Connection, on all social media platforms except Twitter. That is the ENT Connect. I also have my own horror channel or page on Instagram called The Horror Connection. So check me out there.
It's my favorite.
Sure.
It's my favorite connection. The horror connection.
It's a good
You're my
connection.
favorite
for sure.
hour.
Yeah.
Rob, where can everyone find you, my friend?
I mean, you can find me on the Howling Hour. Pretty much, I don't have Twitter or X or whatever that. I mean, I do, but I don't use it. But Instagram, YouTube, the Howling Hour. Also, do a lot of horror stuff with Haunt Talk. So just kind of like a podcast thing. Me and Scott do. So find me on there. So
The Walker Chronicles, the ear, nose, and throat connection. Nice. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a real pleasure, as always, having you all in the chat. We truly enjoy every second of it. Thanks for joining us live and on the rewatch. And, of course, you can find us at The Haunt Line on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, pretty much anywhere. And you can also visit us on the web, thehauntline.com. And until the next time, thank you for calling The Haunt Line, everyone. We'll see you guys real soon. Good night, everyone.